도와보. 소로이 파티고 소로. 하도라사 고고고된 더럽히나 불게 너너그 하하세 마티티 고토토토토 토 커버랑크 타판타토 오로나사고 모네모 탁탁했죠 마이티 모티키 모로 소리디키 토헤나 누나 도르핀 토크노소 대히소 소로 뭐지? 소 오리마 토바에도 너 본테 바이네 토네 토스토노 토키케나노 코스모사 고슈타테 소소소소소소 루이 페타소소 오리마
How's it going, YouTube? It's your boy Raw, and welcome to our new Let's Play of Let's Play Pikmin 2. Alright, so of course you guys have just saw the opening cinematic for the game, and of course, like with every other Let's Play we've done, I'll go ahead and explain a lot more of that for those who may not be too familiar. But before I do, let's go ahead with the dialogue that we're introduced to. That was close. I have averted a crash landing. Running diagnostics. Alert, danger. Louie is missing. He must have somehow fallen out of his cockpit. He is not responding via his communicator. He is either flouting for protocol or in danger. Now, Olimar, you must find Louie before he freezes to death in the cold of this planet. Wait a moment. Look. A familiar face and some joys we see. Could these be Pikmin? They look like they're about to be devoured as we speak. You must help them quickly. Press B to call them with your whistle, Captain Olimar. You can also hold B to make the sound of your whistle carry farther. Remember. I'm trying my best to sound like what an automated robot would sound like. Probably not a great one. But yes. The red Pikmin! The ones we saw back in our original travel to the planet, which of course wasn't, planned. The Pikmin ran to your side. They seem to remember you. Captain Olimar, how fascinating. And give them instructions and do not delay. Hold A to grab a Pikmin and release to throw it. I kind of remember how to ship I was on this planet originally. Alright. And that was pretty easy. For those who may be familiar with our original Pikmin Let's Play, and for those who may not be, this is a Bulborb. It is an enemy that we've seen already, and I can explain so many differences from the first game to this, but I will speak on all of that as we go along. There's no point in doing all that in one video when we will see many of that throughout our trek through the planet again. Attention, Captain Olimar. I have just re-established my communication link with Louie. It is fortunate we have managed to confirm his safety. Press Y to communicate with him. I am quite interested in the details of his condition. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to the ship, because now, unlike our ship, it talks.
Louie.
Louie's like, oh, I am awake now. Louie, allow me to assess your condition as per our safety protocols. Are you at all injured? Is that so? Then my concerns are eased. Our communication link shows you are nearby. Can you make your way to our location and rejoin us? I will navigate for you. Press start pause to contact me and obtain information about the terrain. I'm very bad at this like robot sound, so apologize if I sound like a squeaky boy, but I'm trying my best. Just want to sound different, because you know, a little different. Alright, but now that we are as Louie, not only are we Olimar, but we can also play as Louie, but we also see something that Louie hasn't been familiar with. Louie, the odd object before you appears to be one of the onions mentioned in Olimar's report. And his eyes, he just bulges out in complete like hysteria. He's like, what? Oh. The seed, the onion ejected, just sprouted. According to Olimar's report, it can be plucked with a... Alright, so to Olimar, these are just catching up with familiar friends. We already know who these are, but to Louie, this is just an unknown sprout-looking plant. So as we pluck, like we did with Olimar back in our original debut to the planet, I like how the lighting changed a little bit, interesting. But we are reintroduced again, but for Louie, the red Pikmin. Louie, this must be one of the Pikmin creatures from Olimar's report. It is staring at you. You can use the C-stick to issue objectives to your Pikmin squad and even direct their movement. You can disband your squad with X. Interesting. Olimar's description of the creatures resembling Pick carrots was strikingly accurate. Louie, my sensors have dictated drool in the corner of your mouth. Are you alright? So I'm assuming Louie just loves Pick carrots. And Louie's just confused why it's following him. The simultaneous stare into the fourth wall. But yes, now we have red Pikmin under both of our control. Okay, so now with a lot of the dialogue that should be out of the way for a while as we collect more Pikmin, I can go ahead and explain a lot more about Pikmin 2. So the cinematics should explain a lot about what's to be expected. Okay, so we're gonna get another tutorial about growing Pikmin. Olimar already knows a lot about this, but Louie is still fresh new into this. I like how the red Pikmin's just chilling right there. He's like, yep, I'm just gonna wait here. The onion ejected more seeds. The pellet from that flower must hold nutrients that bred Pikmin. Yes, the Pikmin gather nutrients, fall to their onion, and further propagate the species. The onion is a Pikmin mothership. Reviewing the Olimar's report, it seems repeatedly tapping A lets one rapidly pluck Pikmin sprouts. Alright, will do while that goes on. Olimar's just gonna have to chill over here with the ship for a while. Alright, while we go ahead and propagate more Pikmin, I can go ahead and explain, and hopefully the ship shouldn't interrupt me too much. So the opening cinematic did kind of explain the kind of purpose of why Olimar, and now Louie, his new teammate, or partner, or I guess forced ally, employee, they have returned back to the mysterious planet. Of course, when Olimar first arrived here, it was through unexpected circumstances. He crash landed there, had to shave. Yes, he had to shave parts. Okay, no, sorry. He had to save his ship parts so he can get back home. Now it's a little different. Now that the Dolphin has been sold his famous ship, and of course his ship, now that it's been sold off for company assets, he now has to, of course, gather treasure. Kind of like the bottle cap that we saw that he was supposed to give to his son. Oddly enough, he comes back straight home only to just go back to the planet literally like moments later. Like nothing had passed. He just went back to his, I guess, work and decided, okay, let me go ahead and just get back to work. Instead of seeing his family, how great. But now that we saw that, we also realized that the company is in debt. So of course the president decided to be foolish and go into enormous debt. And when he saw the treasure that Olimar was going to get to his son, he realized it was worth 100 Pocos, which is apparently equivalent to more than a year's salary, believe it or not. That's pretty sad how that is worth a year's salary. That means like the employees earn like what, 1 Poco a day? or like what, a third of a Poco an hour if you're doing like hourly wages. That's just mind blowing. But that's not the point. So now that we see this, perhaps this object is one of the treasures that we are searching for. The only reason we found it here is because this is where you crash landed. How fortunate. I would like to appraise it, but you must regroup with Olimar first. Can you see him? Press L to move the camera behind you, R to zoom, and Z to change angles. I like how the ship is giving us all the instructions when Olimar was the one giving us the instructions. Alright, we can try to dig it out, but we're gonna have to get reconnected with Olimar first, since this treasure that we found, the first treasure you can find in the planet. Since this is the tutorial day, this is day 1. Kind of like with the original Pikmin game, there's no time limit. You're pretty much just here for as long as you need to learn the game. There isn't too much major differences in the beginning from the original installment to this one. But as we progress further, there are going to be a lot more notable differences and things to consider as we venture on, but that'll be mentioned as we come across them. There's not too much to say as of right now. The only thing I can speak of after we, of course, re-encounter with Louie. Louie, you son of a gun! Oh. I like how Olimar's happy. Louie's just like, it's their food. Captain Olimar, Louie, you are reunited at last. This has been a troublesome start to our trip, but now you must feel assured that your combined wits can get you through anything. Correct? Yeah, maybe. From now on, use B to form a single group, and X to take solo action, and Y to change leaders. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and collect the resources from this guy, and the ship, I guess it, is correct. With Pikmin 2, it added one fundamental feature that is gonna be enormous for our journey throughout the world, throughout the planet, and that is 2 leaders. So of course, Olimar was the only solo adventurer in the original game, and with now Louie helping us, we have 2 captains. So of course, I as Olimar can be closer to the onion to say, create more Pikmin, or sprout more, or fight, and Louie can be with another set of groups to of course do our individual tasks. So that's the one thing Pikmin 2 has the great benefit over, is that you can kind of multitask in a bit more effective manner. So of course in 1 that wasn't really possible since it was just Olimar, now you can in 2. The only other thing I can really speak on before getting into too greater detail is getting you guys ready for what's to be expected. There are going to be a lot of places that we are going to be exploring, and there's going to be one fundamental change to Pikmin 2 that makes kind of the treasure gathering aspect a lot more interesting. I believe when we get to the next day, that's when we'll see it. For now, I'll just leave it at that. We're just going to be learning a lot more about our situation. And basically, after everything I just explained, the only other thing I haven't really talked about is that the whole point is just gathering enough treasure to, of course, pay off the debt. In the tutorial day, there really isn't much you can do other than trying to collect the last treasure. Like I said, there really isn't much to do. Nothing has really spawned over here yet, so of course that obviously just means that there isn't much we can do right now. Hold on. I think I'm forgetting one thing. I will be honest though, I am more familiar with Pikmin 2 than the original. I played 2 a lot more times, and the replay I've done on here is significantly more than on Pikmin 1, so that's why I was a little bit rusty on the original one, but on this one I am a lot better at it. That doesn't mean I'm a pro, and that doesn't mean I'll clear this game 100% easy, but I am gonna go after every single treasure, so don't worry about that. I am gonna be collecting all 201 treasures I believe there are in this game. I forget how many there are, but I believe there should be at least more than 150. I think there's about 200. So I'm gonna do my best to do all that, and I'm also trying to do my best to collect every enemy. That's not required. You don't have to collect every enemy every enemy for the max money, but I'm kind of going a little bit ahead of myself, so I'll wait till we get to that significant part of the story, which should be the next day. Because after we collect this treasure, the game will, kind of like when we collected our first ship part back at our original visit to the planet, it'll end the day right there. But as you can see, just really skipping over here, there is some significant landmarks that we can kind of get familiar with. So there's water, so that kind of means that we should be seeing blue Pikmin again. Other than that, the map, actually does tell us everything that we need to see, but there isn't too much detail to uncover yet. And really, other than that, I've already explained everything from the original story. Of course, I can explain more as we go on, but that's just to make sure I don't go too ahead of myself. The whole point for right now is just to collect all the money we can to avoid the debt. other than that, there are a lot more gameplay elements and a lot of changes from Pikmin 1 to 2 that, again, like I already mentioned, I can go over extremely long with big detail right now. But of course, when we come across it, it'll be better to explain as we see it. But for now, we're just going to experience a similar encounter like we did with Day 1 in the original game, kind of like right now. Alright, the Courage Reactor. So kind of like in the original game when we collected the ship part, the ship or Olimar in his notes told us a little bit about the ship part. The only thing we really get here after we discover an item is we get the name that they kind of dub it. So of course we all know this is like a D battery, but for them it's the Courage Reactor, and it tells us its value, and then of course underneath tells us the total amount of Pokos we collected so far. So right now we have 280 because of course this battery costs 280. But of course a lot more that can be explained a little bit more as we go on. But for now we collected our first treasure. Our first day of exploration has yielded us first treasure. We will be done in record time. I took the liberty of naming it when I appraised it. The name reflects my current thinking. Okay, so the ship name. Leave it to me to think of catchy names for hit products. It is but one of my many talents. We shall end our first day here and report back to our president. His face will surely be joyous. However, to communicate with Hokutek, we must fly into low orbit above the planet. We will not return to the surface until morning, so as to avoid the indigenous nocturnal creatures. Alright, and with that, the day suddenly turns a little bit darker, and the Pikmin are not with us. But of course, like the original, they are heading back to their onion, because of course they are not going to stay here out in the indigenous nocturnal area that is the planet. There's only just that one Bulborb. And of course, like the original day, you don't have to worry about losing any Pikmin. That Bulborb that we fought in the very beginning is programmed to not eat your Pikmin, so of course, the next 20 that you'll be able to get is pretty much what you're going to be keeping, so don't worry. So with the ending title, just to go through every single part, funds earned is just a nice recap of every treasure we collected on that day, from the beginning to pretty much sunset, and of course calculates the total and what we have so far. The next page will of course indicate our Pikmin yield. So of course it'll go from yesterday to today. This one, of course, will list every other Pikmin as we collected from, as we encounter them. And if you go to Z, which is something new, it'll actually tell you each specific way you lost a Pikmin, starting from today up until so far. And of course we'll calculate the sum total. So there's a lot of methods of how you can lose Pikmin, and each one can be explained a little bit later. There's just a lot of fundamental changes that change from Pikmin 1 to 2. There is a lot to go over. There's many things that kind of improve the quality of life for the game, and some things that may make it a little bit worse, but in all honesty, it is for the better, and a lot of it has been made easier for the user. But of course, a lot of that will be explained. And kind of like Olimar's daily end notes, we also get mail. So day 1, from the president. You found your first bit of treasure. Fine work. Our future depends on your efforts, so check your treasure hoard regularly. I'll check in often. Keep up the pace. Man, you're the one that does up. Why aren't you helping? Forget it. Alright. So of course, when we first saw our intro into the game, we had seen the Valley of Repose. That is the name of this location, this snowy tundra area. And as you can see, the HUD is very different from the original. So just to go into minor detail, I can explain a little bit more as we progress. Not much to talk about now since we really haven't seen too much in day 1. Day 1 is really meant for the tutorial, so there isn't too much to go over. Of course, the top middle, top center shows us our current funds that we've collected. The Picklopedia, when you press the L trigger, shows you a diary, or I guess a log of every enemy you have encountered, including ones that are non-threatening. So pellet posies, like the ones that harvest the nutrients for Pikmin, and of course the dwarf red Bulborb. It of course will tell you its value, the amount of Pikmin you lost to that specific enemy, and the amount of times you defeated that enemy. Of course, you can also throw Pikmin carrots at it to simulate how it'll attack a Pikmin, and you can kind of simulate the camera's actions with that. And Olimar's notes will go ahead and explain a lot about the enemy, but I won't read a lot of these right now. I might read some of them as we go on, but my plan is to go ahead and read it. But if I do, you'll go ahead and learn a lot more about it through Olimar. And on this same menu, if you press the R trigger, you can of course access the treasure hoard. So of course it'll give you a description of the item. normally do is just view it, and Olamar's journal will kind of tell you what it is and how you obtained it and a lot about it. Other than that, it'll just tell you its value and the amount of Pikmin it's needed to carry it because of its weight. Other than that, that's basically it. We're going to go back to the area selection, and that is going to be the conclusion of day 1. So of course, with day 1, that is your tutorial. You just get to learn a lot more about the game. But day 2, and pretty much the next day after every other sequential day after 1, is where the real fun begins. We will be, of course, starting to explore more of the Valley of Repose and a lot more locations that we'll access as the game progresses and find more treasure. But we'll call it a day for right here. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I do hope you enjoyed. Recap, gameplay number 7 has commenced. It is Pikmin 2, the follow-up to the original Pikmin series, and there is a lot and so much to go over here. But of course, I've already mentioned it enough times. I'm basically a broken record, but I love to say it. We will go through each detail as we go through it. I will explain a lot more of how the days will work in the next episode, just to kind of give you an idea how to expect the series to go on. Just know that it won't be as chronological as it was in the original, just because the days work a little bit different here. But of course, when I enter day 2, I will explain a lot more of that as we, of course, journey throughout the day. But for now, I'll just leave it here. So guys, this has been your boy Ron, and until next time, I will see you guys back here at the Valley of Repose, so we can go ahead and begin our actual exploration of this location and see what treasures we can find and what new things we can explore. I'll see you guys then. Take care.